Okay, what we got going today is I've been messing around with single strand twisted, which doesn't really make much sense. It's pretty counterintuitive. Like, why would you ever twist one strand of wire? There's a few benefits that I've noticed. One of them much more interesting than the rest to me, but I'm just going to go ahead and show you how I do that and kind of go through the steps here. Alrighty, so I just got my drill. Make sure this wire is nice and tight in there. And then I'm just going to grab some pliers. Hold this in tight. And then I'm just going to start spinning it. And I'm not holding a lot of pressure on this, I'm just kind of holding it in place. And as long as you don't push it in or anything, it's not going to kink up on you. And I think you can even see in the video that these twists are starting to appear in the wire, and it's actually changing the texture of the wire itself. And if I let go here, you notice that it has straightened it out really well. And so even if you just take it to this point, it's already created a really straight wire to work with. And so it makes it a lot easier to do parallel coils and stuff. You make multiple strands of this wire, and instead of trying to wrap a parallel coil with 2 strands of regular wire, even fold it together, and then their bends are all, you start with the misaligned bends, and then it gets all junky looking and doesn't work as well. And so you can even just take it to this point and make nice parallel coils with just a nice flat straight piece of wire. But if you keep going with it, ooh, starting to break on us here. You can get to a point in the wire where it starts getting some really interesting properties. Let me see if I can do this on camera. I think you can see even a slight color change in the video right around here in the wire, and it gets to the point where it's twisted so much that the outside of the wire actually starts, like the surface of the wire starts to get some texture to it, almost a corkscrew pattern. And it does the same thing with water that the helix wire does under the tap, and I made a video of that too. And I'm going to take this farther than you normally would when working with a wire, just so you can see what happens if you go too far. So I don't know if you can see that on the video. I doubt this is going to focus on it. But basically right here you can see a discoloration starting. And once it gets to a certain point, it's kind of indicating that it's twisted to its complete maximum, and it becomes brittle and you're unable to make a coil with it. So I'll just go ahead and take this. I'll take this wire to the maximum. There we go. And when it's twisted this much, the wire will actually become so brittle that it just snaps. And like, you can't even build a coil with it. So there's a sweet spot to find right before it gets to this point. I think some of this wire is still not too brittle, like right here. You can see it still has some malleability to it. And once you build a coil with it, it's pretty cool. You can use it wickless, and so it's basically really simplifying making a wickless coil. I'm going to get this out of here and go ahead and do another one, so pause it real quick. Alright, so I got the second piece of 24 gauge set up in the drill, and I'm just going to do the same thing as last time, just this time I'm going to stop before it gets brittle, or try to. So I'm basically just watching for a change in color. It usually starts happening right here where it reaches the maximum and then starts spreading up. And so once I get a little piece of the maximum twist there, I'm just going to stop. And that should do it. Looks like it started happening in the middle rather than at the chuck there. So hopefully I got a usable piece of wire here. I'm just gonna go ahead and cut this off. Get that out of here. And I'm just gonna start with the end here that doesn't have any sort of discoloration to it. I'm just gonna go ahead and wrap up a coil. And it kind of makes it really easy to wrap a clean microcoil as well. And I'm going to do a 5 reps. I'm going to take one more, take one off. Alright. And take off the part that is not lined up. Add a little bit of a bend to it so it fits where I want. And let me grab an Addy. Alright, I grabbed an igow. igow is probably my favorite atomizer. It's because it's so cheap and versatile, and you can do some pretty nice builds on it. I have about 10 of them. Anyway, so all I'm going to do is just stick this through like a normal microcoil. You'll notice the bend that I put into that wire, where normally you would have that going facing upward. I'm going to flip it over so it's going downward. And that's just so it's a little bit easier to get recessed down into the deck. I'm just going to kind of pull it in. Grab the wrong ones here. Pull it in kind of close to the posts. Just make sure it's going to clear the deck there. Alright, and tighten her down. I don't think I have my locking ring on. Whoops. Wouldn't be the first time I burned through my finger. Anyway. Alright. So I got that attached pretty well. I'm just going to start pulsing it and see where we're going here. Grab anything I got laying around, pinch it together. Just like a normal microcoil. And I was using a 1/8 bit to make this one. Looking pretty good. Stick this guy back through and just start pushing it down into the deck. And so, literally going to get this, you can actually push it down to the point where it touches the deck. And there's enough springiness in the legs of the wires to lift it back up on its own. And it won't allow it to short out. See what I'm saying? So you can actually push it down as long as you're not pushing the button. Don't push the button while you're doing this, obviously. You can push it down all the way to the deck with light pressure. You don't want to force it down. And then it's going to be as close as it possibly can get there to the deck. And it's still not shorting out on it. And this coil comes out to about 0.5 ohms or something. And it works really well wickless, so I'm just going to clip the leads and just show you how it works. And whenever you make wire like this, you want to do a few juice burns, if not an actual rinse with real thorough rinse with water. just because as you twist that wire to the maximum, the surface actually starts breaking off chunks of metal, tiny microscopic pieces of metal. And so I like to do a bunch of juice burns. I notice that if I don't do a bunch of juice burns, or I don't wash the wire first before using it, that it's really harsh on the throat, and I'm almost curious if that's not tiny particles of canthal, which I don't want to be inhaling. So wash the wire before you use it, or do a bunch of juice burns like this on there. So I'm getting a little hot spot there. Looks like that negative leg's getting a hot spot. See if I can't just tighten this guy down a little bit more. There we go. So I'm going to pause it, adjust this a little bit, see if I can't get rid of that hot spot on the negative leg, and then we'll see if we can show how it vapes. Alright, before I get to the vapor production, I just wanted to show, I went ahead and made one with regular 24 gauge canthal that hadn't been twisted, and I just want to show you the differences between the performance of the two. So with the regular 24 gauge that has not been twisted or anything, it appears like it's working pretty well. And it looks almost identical. I mean, it'll even dry out that juice well, just like any other Wickless build would, just with regular round wire. The problem is that the top of that coil is getting really hot, and the vapor becomes really harsh. So it looks almost like identical results, but when you try it, it's a completely different experience. So this is the stuff that's been twisted, and maybe there is even a slight difference in the way that the vapor shoots off of there. You can kind of see a more of an even result. Let me do them side by side. Ooh, and when you're doing this, I always forget to mention this. This juice is boiling hot, and juice boils at like 400 degrees or something like that, and so it's very, very hot, and you can easily just burn the crap out of yourself. So these are the two side by side. They look really similar, like I said. And that one ran out of juice. Well, it's basically empty juice well over there that we're dealing with, I think. But yeah, you're welcome to try both of them and see what I'm talking about. It's a pretty easy build, so anyway, I'll go ahead and do some vapor production. Alright, I'm going to go ahead and get this juiced up. Same coil that I just built. Overwicked it a little bit. And it's 0.5 ohms, so not a huge amount of vapor, but a nice flavor taster. And let's see if I can't do this like a quad coil, so I can get a little more vapor out of it. Same benefits of any other Wickless build though. Really pure flavor. No wick in there to worry about drying out. It's great for testing juices. And again, don't pour boiling juice in your hand. It hurts. That's about it.